Yeah. Shouts out to the Conscious Approach community. Thank you for tuning in. JV Wins Dogon SS. We are back once again on this glorious March the 26th, 2024. Here to kick it in your ear with some more logical content. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who's been joining, hitting the subscribe button. It's been a great last couple of weeks on the channel. Been interesting to read through some of the comments and gauge on the reception of some of the topics that we've been doing. So whether you agree or disagree, we just are appreciative of the engagement nonetheless. So if you're new to what we do over here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man, because we do this every week, every day. And if you are already a member, buckle up because it's going to be another exciting addition to the fabled channel library. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to kick things off talking about Andre 3000, who is almost a friend of the channel. We've talked about Three Stacks here a couple of times. I'm not sure that we've talked about him enough for him to qualify as a friend of the channel, but he is getting there. But Andre 3000 made some interesting comments during a recent live performance in which he was elaborating on his decision to transition from making rap music to being like a flautist. And he basically was like sort of telling the audience that, hey, man, this wasn't planned. This kind of thing just sort of happened naturally. It's not like I was sitting around thinking to myself, oh, I need to become a flautist. He suggests that it kind of happened naturally. So we've touched on Andre 3000's musical transition before. So this isn't necessarily uncovered ground here on the channel, but these are interesting comments nonetheless. So we figured we'd use it as a source of content for our stream today. So this article from Hot New Hip Hop says Andre 3000 reveals that his shift to ambient jazz was unplanned. Last year, Andre 3000 released his long-awaited debut solo album, New Blue Sun. The project surprised and divided much of his fan base as it saw him shifting his style away from rap entirely into ambient jazz music, which prominently featured him playing the flute. Many fans praised his willingness to step so far outside of his comfort zone and try a new style, while others were disappointed that they waited so long specifically for a new rap album from 3K. Now, during a recent performance, he gave even more insight into how he arrived at the shift in style. A video captured by a fan depicts his discussion of the process. And I'm not going to read the quote because I'm going to go ahead and play this little Instagram reel of him explaining it. And so earlier this month, Andre 3000 reunited with his former Outkast partner, Big Boy. Unsurprisingly, Big Boy had some jokes to crack about the new artist direction Andre has been on, but it was obviously all in good faith. Andre also revealed in an interview that Big Boy shared his reaction to New Blue Sun after hearing it. He expressed pride in his fellow rap legend's commitment to shifting his aesthetic. So here is that Instagram video, that reel of Andre 3000 getting into why how rather he came to switching up his style and transitioning from the rap lyrics to the flute.
How you just gonna be like rapping and then just gonna get on stage playing fucking flutes? Like I didn't plan to be the flute nigga. I didn't plan to be that, you know. It's just kind of like it happened. When I started rapping, like I didn't know, you know, what it would be. You know, it's me and Big Boy at the crib watching rap videos. We were like, let's try it. Like, I know we have plans, and I know we go to school, we have intentions, you know, we plan for things, but we all freestyling. We all making this shit up as we go along. You know, we have intentions, you know, but we don't really know.
All right, there you go. So shouts out to Andre 3000 for, at least at this point, clearly not having a no phone rule at his shows.
Hmm.
Uh, that's pretty much a standard issue policy at pretty much any live comedy show. And I do know some artists, musicians do the same thing. But be that as it may, what did you think about that? Do you believe him? You think it was all natural? He didn't really see it coming, or do you think that there's more to it than that?
Uh, I can see that vision. I can understand why he's saying that. So I concur with that, especially as somebody that fashions themselves as an artist. Um, I really, whenever inspiration comes, it comes in whatever form it comes in. It came in that form. So if you try to, force a square peg in a round hole when it comes to your artistry, it's not going to come out as good, because the best art, in my opinion, comes from a sense of authenticity. So if he was trying to force it, it wasn't going to sound good. It wasn't going to be up to his level of because check me out. Because if an artist has like a bar to where they say, hey, it's going to be a classic. This is what I think a classic is going to be, and that's rated a 10. But if their level of inspiration is at a 7, they're capping off at 7. They can hear it themselves that there's 3 more notches to this, and then so will the fans. So instead of forcing it, I agree with him. Just go with the flow. Yeah, I can feel him as well. Like, hey man, I didn't want to be the flute guy. I mean, if anything, I would have been playing the electric guitar. But inspiration came as it came, and I picked this up. So I can dig it. Artists, they can always evolve, and they can always pick up a new thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts something different when he's in his 60s. So what are your thoughts on 3K saying that it was just inspiration? He didn't plan this. You buying that?
I believe him halfway.
Mm.
So here's my thing. I believe that he knew that there was going to be a transition if he were to continue making music,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I think he knew.
Okay.
But what I don't think he knew is that it was going to be playing the flute, right? So I don't think that the transition that he knew was inevitable was that of ambient jazz playing the flute. But the reason why I say I halfway believe him
Mm.
is because I think he at least knew to a certain extent that his future in music was not going to be rap. He knew that much. He just didn't know he didn't know what it was going to be next. And the reason why I say that is because I personally believe, and we've touched on this before, I believe that as he matured as an artist and obviously as he got older, he looked at the landscape of rap music and hip hop culture, and
Mm-hmm.
he felt alienated by it. And he felt as though there was no place for him in the ecosystem of rap and hip hop because the kind of music that gets popularized is not the kind of music he wants to make. So he saw the writing on the wall and realized there's not necessarily a place for me here. So if I retire and never make music again, so be it. But if I do make music again, it's not going to be in this lane because that's not who I am. And I don't make music like that. At least I don't anymore. And really, he never did. If you if you are into this genre and you pay attention to the music, again, emphasis on the word popularize, because of course if you're a hardcore indie fan,
Mm-hmm.
you probably listen to some artist out there who doesn't make music that largely gets mainstream. But if you just are a general consumer of the music, then you are well aware, or maybe you're not, that the kind of music in this genre that gets mainstream from a popularized standpoint tends to entail a singularity with respect to its content. Anybody with any modicum of an observance within them
Mm-hmm.
can see that there is a type of content that is largely mainstream and popularized via whatever mechanism that popularization is coming from. And if that isn't aligned with the kind of music you want to make or the kind of music that you want to consume, you either have to force yourself to conform to it or find another outlet. So I think he surveyed the landscape and realized I'm not going to conform because that's not what I'm about. So either I am going to bow out gracefully and retire into the ether, never to be heard from again, which I think is the trek that he was on. And somewhere along the way, he got hit with some kind of inspiration to do this because he's always been an eclectic individualist. And he's probably been somebody who does this on the side. Like he's probably always played the flute for all we know. But, he was always also a hip hop head. But once he realized that there's no longer a place for me in this landscape, it was a decision to either conform, sort of allow himself to just sort of bow out gracefully, never to be heard from again, at least musically, or if he just so happens to get hit with some kind of an inspiration in terms of being able to make a musical transition that is indeed authentic and not hackneyed and forced, then he'd be able to explore those avenues as well. So, from my standpoint, I kind of think he's half right in that he knew that there was going to be a transition, but he didn't know what that transition was. But at the end of the day, he at least surveyed the landscape of rap and hip hop and realized that there's no longer a place for him in it. And unlike some of his contemporaries who know that this isn't really what they're about, but choose to stay in it for the purposes of continuing to, I don't know what the reason for it is. Maybe they feel as though they owe the music an obligation to continue to make stuff, and so they conform and continue to try and fit square pegs into round holes. But for him, he decided that's not necessarily for me. And I'm either going to no longer make music ever again, or I'm going to make a transition into something else. At the end of the day, I believe he is not a conformist, which is the key to all this. And I brought this guy up before. You look at somebody like Nas. Nas, in his advanced age, has found a way, despite what rap has transitioned to curate his sound in a way that even in 2024, despite how long he's been in the game, he can continue to make music that sounds good, that doesn't necessarily sound outdated, but he's not conforming to the machine of modern day mainstream popularized rap. And of course, it helps that he can collaborate with an individual like Hit Boy, and they sort of synergize in a way that makes it a perfect union. So Nas can continue to make the kind of raps he wants to make, and he can sound relevant because he's backed by somebody like Hit Boy, who is equally gifted in his own right when it comes to production. So Nas was fortunate enough to find himself in a position where he can extend the life of his music based upon those parameters. Not every artist is so lucky. But I think for Three Stacks, somebody who I would say is much more indie than Nas, he was just like, hey, there's not really a place for me. So if I can't transition, then I'll just bow out gracefully. Luckily for us, he was able to be struck with that inspiration and transition. And it just so happened to be a flute. So, or it just so happened to be him being a flautist. So from my standpoint, I say, I think he's halfway telling the truth. Not that I'm criticizing him because I get where he's coming from, but I think he knew that he was going to move on to something else and he just didn't know what it was. And it wasn't a situation where he was just sitting around aimless, not knowing what's going on, and then suddenly lightning struck and it's like, boom, I'm going to be a flautist. So for me, he was half right. But like I said, for us as fans, luckily he was struck with that inspiration.
Yeah, I can see that angle. Because, well, I mean, in the back of everyone's mind, they already know. It's like an old job you used to have, and you knew you didn't want to be around. You didn't know what your new job was going to be, but you knew you wanted to get out of there. So yeah, I mean, I can understand that premise, and I think more or less what he was getting at was that that latter portion of the thought process of, what would it be? How would I contribute to music? I don't take Andre for a person that does anything by accident or does anything by happenstance or says anything by accident or happenstance. And I think when he was up there explaining himself, he was A, explaining himself, but also B, sharing a lesson, I believe. Um, and that's why I felt the first time around when I even heard that he was even doing this, I felt as though that this whole thing is a way of showing people another way. And so all of it is a lesson. And so if you imagine like a path of a whole bunch of people walking down the same path, and he literally ventured off, and
Yeah.
everything he's saying is like surrounding that. Hey, this is why I ventured out here. It's not that bad. I know you want to do it, and and it's okay. And yeah, I love every second of that. So yeah, man. And I can also tell by listening to his lyrics in the past, man, that this guy has a lot of stuff on his heart that he felt as though that music was his way of conveying that message. And not in the same on the same tier of a Bob Marley or something like that, but a hip hop's version of someone who is trying to lead people another way the entire time. So I take that this this little, I guess, excerpt from his concert is the same. Now, my only critique of this is now as a flautist, all right, okay, that's cool. But the strobe lights, I'm not really like, come on, man. Like, I felt like the stage should be a little bit more earthy, similar to like a play, where if somebody's frolicking through dandelions. Not like badass strobe lights, because they don't really mix. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's like a trippy vibe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But last thing I'll say is that a couple days ago, man, I seen the video on TikTok where this guy trap violinist or something like that, and the guy was going crazy with the violin. And they had other people like playing like bass or something else in the back, and they were like making it was like a song. And the way that he was playing the violin was similar to somebody rapping, and the flows of the rap, which adds a different type of melody to violin hearing. It's not
Yeah.
and it's like, oh shit, I like that. And then and so why not? Why not have our people, venture off? Trap is just, a catchy
It's the hook.
buzzword. Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
it's a buzzword, but it's not necessarily what they're doing. And so I dig that. So, if our people can get into that stuff, man, it pulls a certain thing out of us when you listen to that kind of tunes versus shoot 'em up, bang, bang. So, yeah, I'm all behind this. I'm, the people, they want more.
Yeah.
So they gonna want another. Or where's the second album? He's like, damn, now I created a monster. Now I gotta
Yeah.
come out with a second flute. Yeah, you can't rush this man. So let him do his thing, get in his incubation chamber, and if he comes out 10 more years later, I think I'll be ready and happy for it. So yeah, shouts
Yeah.
out
I,
to Three Stacks.
Yeah, shouts out to Three Stacks for real. Yeah, another example of that is Trap Choir. Like there's a trap. They call themselves Trap Choir, but they're an orchestrated choir. But obviously, to get you in, they're gonna throw the word trap in there so that they can sort of lure in that hip hop base, because you need the audience. So we the Trap Choir, even though as an orchestrated choir, they can lend their abilities to any genre of music as if they're a legitimate choir, but they're just called trap choir because if rappers want that kind of sound, they can call them too and all of that kind of stuff. So it's the same kind of thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. If there's one thing that we need to heed from the moves that Andre 3000 makes, it's the importance of nonconformity. I think one of the restraints that we willfully adhere to that sort of keeps our community constrained and confined to various boxes, which makes it easier for us to be controlled and to have our behavior dictated, is conformity. Conformity through music and entertainment and various other forms of, as you like to call it, mind control. And I think the second that more of us decide to venture outside of those boxes, and become nonconformists, despite what others around you might be telling you you should be doing or listening to or consuming. It makes it more difficult for us to control, and it makes it easier for us to venture into new avenues of things that can just basically just enhance the quality of your life. I think the more likely you are to be a nonconformist, the more likely you are to do a lot of the stuff that I preach about here on this channel. Be it getting into, you know, entrepreneurship, STEM applications, other forms of music. The point is, being a nonconformist to me is a very valuable trait to have as an individual, regardless of the community that you come from. And it makes it much more difficult to dictate your behavior and try to predict and control what you do and don't do when you are at your core a nonconformist. And so, like Andre 3000 being a nonconformist, to me, he's clearly a nonconformist. I mean, he was a nonconformist to me even when he was still rapping. Because when he was rapping about stuff that no other rapper was rapping about. Right. I mean, he'll get on songs with Rick Ross and he's rapping about dolphins. Like, nobody does that, he got on he was on what's the name of that on Rick Ross 16 on the God Forgives I Don't album. He was trippy with his verse, talking about dolphins and outer space. So even when he was a rapper, he was a nonconformist to me. But now he's truly ventured into nonconformity via what he's doing with his current brand of music. And I praise him for it, not because I'm going to sit here and proclaim to be able to listen to the album front to back, but because of what it represents to me, which is adherence to nonconformity, which I think is important for any individual, no matter what community that you come from. And, they like to box us in, man. They want to predict our movements, predict our behavior, predict our decisions based on the fact that we want to listen to rap all day and based on the fact that we want to listen to murder, death, kill all the time or watch these various kinds of TV shows and stream this and play this kind of video game. So when you can bracket yourself out of that and make yourself more difficult to control, you make yourself more of a threat to the status quo and more of an individual who's able to procure the things that can remove you from ecosystems that can otherwise victimize you. So that's why I like what he's doing, him and anybody else who's on that wavelength. I'm a fan of it all day.
Yeah, and there's a difference between, and I know but I'm just saying, just in general, there's a difference between being a nonconformist and just a contrarian person.
Being a contrarian on purpose, right?
And one thing about contrarian people, they're more aggravating than the conformists.
They are.
Like, look, bro, you're like the reverse NPC. You're aggravating the shit out of me right now. Just have a real own thought. Sometimes it's okay to agree with the masses because sometimes the masses make sense. Wash your hands after you finish taking the shit.
Yeah.
No, not me. Excuse me, bro. Like, you're not gonna wash your hands? So that's that guy. So that guy can go somewhere with his life. But but having your own thought process, filtering things out, accepting things that make sense, rejecting the stuff that don't. And I agree with that, man. And I feel like the world needs more of it. And I didn't look at it that way, but I agree. I feel like that's a good way of encapsulating what he's got going on right now is being a nonconformist, but in a sensible way.
Right. And yes, authentically. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, man, I'm with him. So shouts out 3 Stacks, man. I still listen to it, when I'm working and the 9 to 5 grind has me frustrated. One of my outlets is Andre 3 is 3 Stacks New Blue Sun, along with various other forms of music like that just kind of mellow out my thought process. So I'm with it all day. But even if sonically it's not for you, the symbolism behind it to me, in my opinion, is one that preaches nonconformity, which I think is a very important quality. So shouts out to 3 Stacks. Much respect, man. Love over here on this side, man. Keep doing your thing, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe too, bro, because I know you watching, bro. Come on, man. Stop, man.
Yeah. Major look. Now we gonna get into what many people consider these guys to be two hip hop titans, heavyweights in the game. You know, um,
Stop.
if 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 you subscribe to that form of thinking, man, Future's a big deal. Drake is a big deal. Drake is perhaps the biggest deal. Drake is the Al Capone of this rap shit.
Apparently.
Drake is the Vito Corleone of this rap shit. Let some people tell it,
Mhm.
including himself. So anybody who's followed along with this story, Future and Metro Boomin on a sneak tip put out an album. And what's the name of this thing? We Ain't Never Trust You. We
Yeah,
Don't
we don't
Trust You.
trust you.
That's
Yeah,
the
we
name
don't
of it.
trust.
We Don't Trust You. And what initially got everybody talking about this was Kendrick is on a track on this thing, and allegedly he's going after Drake and J. Cole on this track. So it's drumming up speculation that there is a possible rap beef brewing between Kendrick and J. Cole and Drake, and it's on Future's album apparently, because Future, I thought they was cool, but apparently Future and Drake are not cool anymore. But apparently the reason why they're not cool, allegedly, has something to do with a woman, right? So that's why we are that's why, that's why we are talking about this on the channel. Anybody else who might be watching this video, who hits onto the stream, who watches this individual video, more background information for the rest of you internet sleuths out there who might know more about what's going on here, definitely let us know in the comments. Give us some background on this story, please. But for the purposes of right now, this says Drake and Future may be beefing over a girl, according to internet sleuths. Overnight, Future and Metro Boomin released their new album, We Don't Trust You. They've been hyping the project up for more than a year and even debuted some new songs during their recent Rolling Loud headlining set. So they knew people would be paying attention. What they delivered was a project that fans are loving so far, but by far the most talked about moment on the album is a Kendrick Lamar guest verse where he takes aim at both Drake and J. Cole with disses. That left fans pretty surprised, as Drake and Future have a long history of working together. The pair released an entire collaborative album, What a Time to Be Alive, in 2015. Even just a few years ago, they teamed up for a smash hit on the Future song Wait For You. So as fans digested the Kendrick diss, they also looked for potential reasons why Future would co-sign it. What they dug up was a verse on the album's opening song that repeatedly mentions the word dog. It's something Kendrick also does in his diss as a reference to the rapper's album For All the Dogs. Check out the verse they singled out below. So I'm not going to play the audio because I don't want this video to potentially get flagged. But of course, there's a link to it right here where you can click and listen to it yourself. Fans have honed in on Future's specific lyric references to pillow talking. Many have extrapolated that the alleged beef between the pair may have spawned from a girl because of that line. While it's a pretty vague diss, if it even is one, fans are looking for any explanation for why Future would let somebody diss one of his frequent collaborators on his own record. New footage from Future and Metro Boomin's Rolling Loud set shows that somebody else might be turning on Drake as well. Travis Scott was in attendance for the show and reportedly asked backstage if they could play the song that contains the Drake diss. So, again, you can click on the link in the description of this video. It'll take you through. I highly doubt that anybody who is a subscriber to this channel has not listened to this yet. So y'all probably already know what I'm talking about anyway. But in case you don't, there's a link in the description of this video so that you can listen to what they believe is the impetus for this problem between Future and Drake. I don't want to play the audio and risk this video being flagged for copyright infringement. So that is why we chose to just read the background information via the article share. But be that as it may, what do you think about the speculation that these one-time best friends, it seemed, What a Time to Be Alive was the name of their album that they dropped back in 2015, that was going crazy in the streets. But apparently Future and Drake are no longer friends, and apparently it has to do with a woman. And shouts out to my boy Cashmere, bro. I was hollering at him on the phone over the weekend. He said that it is in reference to Drake, who did Drake things, and slid on some chick that had a previous engagement with Future. And so that's where the whole thing comes from, allegedly. But what do you make of this situation here?
I feel like this is typical. Now, the diss track came out, from Future, the collaboration tape, you know, but it also feels like this is Drake's fault. It still feels just like Drake's fault. Um, it, to be honest, this is weak. If y'all have this issue, um, this is a thing behind closed doors kind of thing. To take shots on each other on tracks over a female, that's weak. I would rather it have been over money or something else like that. But to have it happen over a woman for two guys that can get any slews they want, I don't understand why this is even a thing. But I heard that it's a lot of hearing that has to be with this situation because it's so new. But I heard that it's a thing where um whatever girl that Drake was messing with that used to mess with Future was on some stuff where she was basically telling Drake that Future don't really respect him type of thing. And of course, Drake being Drake, you know what I'm saying, was sending shots first, I think. And so Future and Metro, because Metro already had this thing with Drake. And so Future at this point, I could see why they would put it on a song because it's gonna do what it's gonna do. It's they selling stuff, they doing all of that. So to hell with being respected as a man, I'm trying to get this dollar. So I see all of that from industry people. I can totally understand that. But to me, I think it's weak. I think it's weak. And if anybody's taking word of a female, especially the type of women that these bottle girls or whatever they're dealing with, strippers, you're gonna take this girl's word over all this other stuff, and to hell what she's got to say, And if it's a thing where, last thing I'll say, and if it's a thing where I hear some stuff was like, dang, bro said that about me, then it'll be a thing. Well, damn, bro said that about me, but okay, business will still be business. It's just you dap them up and you don't hug it out. You just keep it out here. And I would have still been whatever with that. So I don't know if this is all publicity for these guys. I know it's for I know it's publicity, but is this cahoots or are they really beefing? Because we all know that this is a form of income for these entertainers. So there's still stuff out there to be said about this, but overall, I think it's pretty weak. And the beat, although I'm a huge Metro fan, I thought the beat was whack too. I can't listen to that beat by itself. I'm like, nah, bro, this shit's soft. Well, what's your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts about this Drake Future stuff? Who's to blame here? Do you believe in any of it, or is this just internet investigations?
Yeah, I think it's weak as well. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is not the first time that we have heard stuff like this about Drake, which speaks to your point about it feeling like it's Drake's fault, even though everything at this point is indeed alleged.
Right.
But be that as it may, it is weak. The reason why I wanted to bring this up as a topic on this channel is because, unfortunately, for better or for worse, still in our current society, when it comes to our community in particular, there are two types of champions of our people, and we've talked about this before. It's athletes, specifically football players and basketball players, and then it is hip hop stars. Those are the two champions for our community. Whenever things are going awry in the world at large, or if there's something that needs to be spoken about, or if we need spokespersons who are meant to galvanize our people and spring us into action and inspire us to do good in the world, or to affect change, they go and get a rapper, or they go and get an NBA player or an NFL player. If a political party wants to tell you to vote, they'll go and get a rapper to make some hackneyed song about voting to get us to to get us to go vote. You know,
Boy.
if they want us to get out there and become social justice champions, they'll go get NBA players to wear, you know, shirts and paraphernalia and preach about, being change agents in the street. Our champions, the champions of our community, largely are hip hop people, and then basketball players and football players, if you want to rope that underneath the umbrella, as athletes and hip hop people, unfortunately. So, with these individuals being the champions of our people, you have two titans in the music industry, specifically in the hip hop music industry, Drake and Future. I have my feelings and thoughts on each of these guys respectively, but that doesn't change the reality that they are quite influential when it comes to their impact on the community. I have friends and family who swear by Future up and down for his honesty and authenticity, toxic as he may be. And same thing with Drake. Like, I know people personally who swear by Drake up and down, love him, love the guy. These people are change agents for us. And my whole thing about this is, why do you want to hitch your why hitch your wagon and be change agents to individuals who habitually exhibit non-masculine characteristics? And the ironic thing about these rappers is, historically they've been billed to us as like hyper masculine, but beefing over a woman is the exact opposite of anything masculine. And and now, to be fair, yeah, beefing over a woman is completely unmasculine. But if I'm going to be reasonable, going up behind, like, if you know that this, if you have a friend or somebody who you've worked with or someone who's an associate, and you know this guy on a personal level, and you know that he's dealt with this woman before, and you, despite your status, as you said, you can get whatever girl you want. I'm speaking on Drake here. So you can get whatever woman in the world you want, and you have been living like that since you've been on, but you still pick the one or two women that you know for a fact have been with this guy who you at least at one point were close with. That is also a very non-masculine thing to do. But these guys do this stuff anyway, but they sell themselves to us, the masses and the community, as hyper masculine. So now, what is being perpetuated to us is hyper masculine, despite the fact that it is anything but. We're adopting a lot of these behaviors, and we're sort of perpetuating them ourselves in our own individual lives. And that's the part about this that makes me uncomfortable, because these guys are supposed to be two of the biggest guys in the game. And yet here we are. And allegedly, this situation that is brewing between the two of them is not over money, not over, an intellectual property, not
Right.
over a beat. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? It's over a female. Despite the fact that, like you said, both of these guys respectively can get any woman they want for the most part. So why are we here with this? And it just sucks, because these guys, like I said, are sold to us as the masculine of the masculine. The women love these guys because they exude a form of masculinity that's been sold to them. And the guys want to emulate their behavior because they want to get the same attention from women that they do. And so here we go with this circle of life, this revolving door of perpetuating low-hanging fruit. In this case, non-masculine behavior masquerading as masculine. Neither one of these guys are masculine, in my opinion, but they have so many fans and so many devoted followers and so many people who swear by their antics and their music, who will subconsciously or consciously, depending on how you look at it, glean, depending on which one of them you like more, that side to be on the side of righteousness. And that, to me, is crazy. So we'll see how it plays out. But to me, for you to be occupying this space where you make all of this music, this machismo stuff, constantly shoving it down the throats of your listeners, that you are this masculine dude who just slays chicks and does whatever he wants, and plays by his own rules, and no one controls you because you're better than everybody because of how rich you are, and you can just do whatever you want, and women are objects to be controlled at your whim. For you, despite all of that, to to be beefing with another heavyweight over the same woman is not only weak, but the very opposite of the thing that you claim to preach about in your music. And it's unfortunate that so many of us haven't woken up and realized that these individuals are clowns and minstrel shows. But until the day that we realize that, I guess we'll, sit back, see how time flies, and when the dust settles, we'll know which one of these guys was the true beta.
Yeah, 100, bro. And when you said, like, I forgot what you had said before that, but you was basically like, so what is this really? What were they really? And they were just, it was just business. They weren't really friends. Listen, and we talked about this before. Whenever somebody was blowing up, Drake would just hop on their song. Whether Drake fans want to admit it or not, Future was taking off in 2014, 15, 16. Drake can't just hop on one song. This guy's got mixtapes that are going, legendary in the hood. So, outside of him trying to mimic the sound with, if you're reading this, it's too late. Then he just decided to just team up with the guy. On some LeBron stuff. If you can't beat it, join it. Completely egotistical. No talent. Only talent that he has is his ability to read off a sheet with rhythm and cadence. Sorry, Aubrey Graham. Degrassi. There's a documentary floating around about Nickelodeon kids. Yeah. And what I'm getting at is we have to see, now we have terms for industry plants. We have terms for Ice Spice now. We have terms for Cardi B. So when Degrassi comes from out of nowhere with flows, bars, and all this other stuff, people's minds are blown. I didn't even know he was on Nickelodeon. I just like, who is this guy who doesn't look like he can snap like this, snapping like this? Fast forward, comes out, he's got writers. Surprise, he's no different than Taylor Swift. So every time there's somebody that's trying to compete against him or his wave, he either joins it or crushes it. So with Future, he tried to join the wave. They didn't like each other. Future saw the come up in that. He was capitalizing. So, but Drake had other motives. I'm pretty sure Future was saying some things that were similar to that in some vein. It got back to him. Oh, you pillow talking about me? I'll make a track about you. And now he's getting on this soliloquy where in the time I went to the barbershop and then you was at the bar and then she came to the, and people were like, who's he talking about? That whole For My Dogs thing, people was like, what's going on here? Who's he talking about? Well, apparently he might have been talking about, amongst other people, Future and some of that. So that's what all of this stuff's coming from. This guy's a complete clown. And I'm talking about Drake. Future has his own minstrel stuff going on with him. But when it comes to just being an outright, flat out fraud.
Yeah, he's a leech. He's a leech.
A fraud. It's Drake. So why don't you one dance and hotline bling your ass out of here, bro? Crying over females. Not buying it, man. Sorry, bro. I had to get that off my chest because I'm tired of this part.
Yeah, and let's make sure that we're accurate. He doesn't read off a piece of paper. He reads off his phone.
No, that's right. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Not that it makes much of a difference, but yeah, he's reading his ghost written lyrics off of his phone. But yeah, it's that is the power of this music. That's what it's come to. When I speak on this no longer being a subgenre, but it has graduated to the point in which it's become a major genre. It's primarily for two reasons. One, it has it has crossed over into being consumed by multiple demographics. So it's no longer just consumed primarily by Black people. Now everybody listens to it, and pretty much your consumption on it is dictated based on age at this point and not race or ethnic background. So it's crossed over into being multi demographic. And on top of that, it is too big to fail in terms of the popularity of it being um, inhibited by revelations of things like inauthenticity. Because when a genre gets so big that you can just do whatever you want, and people find out that there's some authenticity there that's lacking, and they'll still listen to it anyway, you've officially become super mainstream and corporatized. And so that's what we have. That's what we're dealing with this. And so for the longest time, these rappers were sold to our men and our women as beacons and examples of true masculinity. Now, granted, the term masculine has undergone a bit of a transition in the wake of these weirdo initiatives like Me Too, where now we're having to sort of pick and parse whether something is truly masculine, toxically masculine, which is weird in and of itself. But overall, these individuals were sold to us as beacons of masculinity. And they're sold to us as beacons of masculinity to this day, despite the fact that their actions off tracks are anything but. Correct. It is anything but masculine to fight with another grown man over a woman, especially when you are in the privileged position to be able to have access to as many women as you want. Constructively, it does not make any sense. And it rubs me the wrong way that so many of our men and women, but most importantly men, look to the actions and behaviors of individuals like Drake and Future as examples of what you should aspire to, especially when it comes to how I can formulate my own masculine identity. It's ridiculous. And Drake is, both of them to me are clowns, but there seems to be a pattern habitually of clown-like behavior, more so on Drake's end with some of the stuff that keeps coming out. Like, how many of these bridges are you going to burn with these rappers, bro? Like, this is a repeated thing with this guy. So, and you're right. Because didn't the first, like Drake, and this is kind of an aside to bring Kendrick in to make your point about how Drake capitalizes on momentum. But I remember, what's the name of the song? Poetic Justice? Oh. The Poetic on Good Kid, Mad City. Okay. I think the name of the song is Poetic Justice when Drake was on that song with Kendrick. I wonder who brokered that arrangement, because clearly it wasn't Kendrick. I don't think Kendrick was in favor of that necessarily, but it was a catchy song and it stood the test of time and all of that good stuff. But clearly Kendrick has never been the biggest Drake fan. No. So how in the world does Drake end up on that song in the first place, even though it was way back in 2014 or whenever that song came out? There's just a lot of weird posturing things that go on with this hip hop music stuff that someone who's more involved with the industry can explain better than me, obviously. But my overall point is, when it comes to these individuals, man, they're not our heroes. They're not people that we are supposed to be looking towards when it comes to examples of how to be as men, nor are they examples of what women should be aspiring to. But it's a perpetuation that unfortunately at this point continues to feed upon itself. When it comes to the beef itself, musically, we'll see. I could care less who's in the right and who's in the wrong with this. It's just weird that these two machismo rapping dudes who rap about bodies on bodies on bodies with all of the chicks that they get all day, every day, the irony inherent in the reality that this situation between the two of them could be over a woman is beyond the pale funny to me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's such a joke. It really is a joke.
It's so ironic. And that's what it is. I was like, wait a second. Wait a second. This is what you do that Walmart fight about. What are y'all doing? So I don't know. I don't get it, man. Yeah, it's weak, bro. This is super lame. And last thing I'll say, to touch base on what you're saying, what the stuff that they're saying is not masculine. I would also add to that, in the same breath, is basically saying that it's not mature. It's all childish. All of it is childish rap. Look at what Drake walks around looking like now with barrettes and stuff and going crazy. And it's like, what are you doing? And but that's his thing. He's got to stay with the wave, and that the wave is young people. So he does all of this stuff, talks all of this young stuff, zero responsibilities in all of his songs, zero accountability in all of his songs. And same thing with Future, where he's still talking about doing drugs that he clearly doesn't do, that he's openly admitted, and other people around him have admitted, but he still talks about doing the drugs, still spinning blocks, and all this other crazy stuff. So as you mentioned as well, is that yeah, that these both of these guys are on Clown Time in two different dimensions, but they're both on Clown Time. And so for two clowns to be beefing over something that's so petty, it shouldn't catch you as a surprise. But for all the people out there that did believe in these people, who did herald them as heroes, there's some real sucker stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If this was on the Blue Pill channel, Red Pill channel, it was like these guys are on the Blue Pill. This is Blue Pill behavior.
Yeah.
So get up out of here, bro. It's lame as hell, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Shouts out Joe Budden is a Drake troll, tried and true, man. And you know, Joe Budden basically says, man, I ain't even. He basically just is completely dismissive towards Drake, and he says that he just on this Chuck E. Cheese stuff. And to your, he calls him like his Chuck E. Cheese raps, or he says he's a Chuck E. Cheese rapper. Mm-hmm. And to your point about the childishness and lack of maturity, like Joe Budden was one of the critics of the For All the Dogs album, because he was like, why are you making songs with Kai Cenat and Yeet and all of these kids when you're like 34 years old or however old he is? He was like, evolve with your music and learn to strike that balance. And a lot of the zombie Drake fans criticized Joe Budden for those comments, and I feel like Joe Budden was right on the money. But that's the thing with this genre of music. We've touched on this before as well. It's hyper obsessed, toxically so, with youth, to the point where it refuses to allow its artists to even grow up, and the artists fall in line with that ideology, and they themselves also refuse to grow up. Because yes, when I was in college, I might fight over a woman when I was 22 years old. At 35 plus, it is unbecoming of you to be doing these things again, especially when, and I can't stress this enough, you can literally get whatever woman you want. So I don't understand it. To me, it is a joke, but par for the course. It's a joke, albeit one that you can account for, unfortunately. But this is where we are with this stuff. And I think the main takeaway from this is, like, you know, y'all out here need to just look at these dudes as minstrel entertainers and not holding on for dear life to what they represent to you, because really what they represent to you is, especially if you're a guy, a lack of masculinity and maturity. And you don't want to go down that road.
Yep. Hey, man, so the next time you hear the song, you know, and he's like OVO, man, you know, just, you know what I'm saying? Just picture the clown music, you know. He actually had a picture with that boy, Pusha T got a picture of him doing his thing. Boy, that boy, that's his life.
Yeah.
Mr. Graham. Same thing with you, Future. Don't try to sneak out of this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Even though I still listen to some of those, I ain't gonna lie, that's still some 2014 stuff I listen to for some memories. But still, man, yeah, these guys gotta grow up, man. So lame behavior, but good topic nevertheless, man. I think the people understand where we coming from, bro. I know they feel the same. This is some wild stuff, man. From, like you said, the two titans of the game.
Yeah. Quite.
Shout out to Kendrick too, bro, for flaming them up the right way.
Yeah. And I mean, it in retrospect, it makes you want to go back and listen to Pusha T, that Daytona album. Pusha T called it way back then, and people got, you know, that's the pop culture icon is always going to be insulated and protected, you know, and that's what Drake is. He's the pop culture icon. Anybody who comes at him legitimately, all of the zombie fans will just say, oh, you're a hater, or you're just jealous because he's more popular than you. And Drake's only retort for any of this stuff is always going to be about what? Money, popularity, sales, all of the stuff that from a, you know, substance standpoint is not really as relevant. But that's all he can do is defend his merits based on popularity and money.
And he'll take your woman.
Yeah, and women. Right, right. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, bro. Hey, and by the way, like and subscribe, guys. We out here every Tuesday with it.
Yeah, yeah. Drake and Future, man. Good luck, fellas. Next up, we are going to talk about a rather interesting topic here. So, Azealia Banks is a pretty outspoken person. She is someone who does not shy away from expressing her views on certain things on the internet. And recently, she has taken aim at Jay-Z and Beyonce, but more specifically, the rollout of Beyonce's country album that she is now on the record saying is not a country album, even though when it first came out, it was. But now she's rolling it back and saying it's a Beyonce album, not a country album, whatever. But Beyonce's country album, right? Azealia Banks took aim at the rollout of this thing, sort of really digging into the lack of authenticity with respect to it being a part of country music. And now, because of some pushback, she is claiming that due to comments that she made initially, Jay-Z and Beyonce are engaging in a smear campaign to silence her as a result of the fact that she is critical of Beyonce's country album. And, she ain't backing down. So she's digging herself in her. She is not going to allow you to smoke her out of her hole. She has dug in on this, and we figured we'd go ahead and talk about it here. So this says Azealia Banks accuses Beyonce and Jay-Z of pathetic smear campaign after country era criticism. Last month, Azealia Banks took to social media to share her unfiltered take on Beyonce's new country era. As expected, she earned herself plenty of backlash from the Beehive in the process. According to her, the hitmaker missed the mark with Texas Hold'em and 16 carriages in what she calls a lazy attempt at diving into a new genre. She urged Beyonce to stop the madness and instead just leave it up to pros like K. Michelle. A few weeks after Banks unleashed her criticism, Billboard published a story about her various high-profile feuds. Now, she's suspicious that Beyonce was behind it in some way. She hopped on Instagram to respond, slamming the songstress and her husband for what she suggests is a smear campaign. It's becoming increasingly obvious you let your staff take payments to spew any BS in these weak attempts to control narratives, she said. But the fact that my message regarding Beyonce and Roc Nation's treatment / sabotaging of Black female artists, writers, behind the scenes, and her audacious expectation that Black women somehow join her in a moment of pride for being the first Black woman to top the country charts. Ugh, I almost vomited, was enough for their team to pay for this weak attempt at damage control is very tickling. I think it's pathetic that in the year 2024, a global superstar and her husband's overwhelmingly desperate attempts to snag an album of the year, obviously to pump some steam into the curious attempt to disrupt the power structure of the music industry with their own DSP title, needs to hinge on these offensively infantilizing epithets like first Black woman to spin payola at country radio, LOL, as if she deserves something special simply for being Black. She also added, this post-BLM propaganda isn't masking how both songs pale in comparison to literally every single artist making contemporary white Americana country music. What do you think of Azealia Banks accusing Beyonce and her team of targeting her with negative PR? Blah, 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 blah. So basically what she's saying is Billboard put out a story detailing the various feuds that that Azealia Banks has been involved in over the years. And Banks feels as though this was a coordinated effort on behalf of Jay-Z and Beyonce to make her look bad as a result of the critical comments that Azealia Banks had towards Beyonce's leading singles for what was Beyonce's country album that Beyonce officially, in terms of the public arena, is now saying, wait, hold on, time out, guys, let's back up. This album isn't exactly country, it's Beyonce. Let's be clear about that, which I think is a bit of collateral damage control on their part. But Azealia Banks is alleging that this is a smear campaign being paid for by Beyonce and Jay-Z to, I guess, put her in her place because she dared to have something critical to say about Beyonce's country music. Now, there are links in this article that you can click on that will allow you to read damn it, to read Azealia Banks' original critiques of Beyonce's country music songs. It was too long. She went on. It's several pages long worth of tweets and Instagram posts. So I'm not gonna read all of that. Y'all can check that out for yourself. But she went in on it, criticizing it for Beyonce basically, you know, trying to dip her toe in the country music sand and playing off of her namesake and the fact that she's a black woman to try and garner a significant amount of the country music fan base to pay attention to her music. And Azealia Banks wasn't here for it, apparently. So these are interesting comments from Azealia Banks. We touched on Beyonce and her country music endeavor previously when it was purported that a country music radio station refused to play the song. But then once they realized that it was actually a country song, they went ahead and played it. And they were like, we didn't realize that it was a country song. We thought that you were requesting regular Beyonce music. And there was this whole media story going out there that a country music radio station on purpose was refusing to play Beyonce's country music. That of course has since been cleaned up because that was of course not the case. But what do you make of this entire situation, man?
Boy.
You think Azealia Banks has a point here? Do you think the Carters are trying to silence her? You think the criticism was not warranted? How do you feel about this?
All right, so let me start from the top here. I agree with Mrs. Banks' take on Beyonce's music, her country music. I believe it was trash. All right. Hey, sorry, Beehive. Now hear me out. It just wasn't good. And while listening to it, I agree with her that it was lazy. I don't know what it was supposed to be. So yeah, and I felt like it was insulting. And I felt like if it was like anybody that came over from another genre and they started rapping, like Ben Shapiro. Like Ben Shapiro had a song where he was rapping about some stuff, talking about this is a yarmulke, no cap. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, but it's Ben Shapiro's novelty. Like, who's really going to take this seriously? So it's the same type of, do you really listen to this music enough to put enough umph into it? I don't think you did. So yeah, I didn't like it. Very commercial, even though country's commercial. That was commercial country. Yeah, it was crazy. So I agree with that take, and she's entitled to that, especially being a person well known for Twitter rants. But so here's the part where I'm 50-50 on it. Now, smear campaign, yeah, why not? I'll take that. But the culprits behind it, I really can't say if it was actually, per se them, like, yeah, let's go get her. I think it was probably more or less. I'm sure it's a thing. It's just protocol for damage control. If anybody takes aim at whatever they're doing, and so part of that damage control, part of how that defense mechanism work is you do have media arms. Not to bring up LeBron again, but the LeBron, like, he's known now for having his footprint in the media. So if he wants an agenda push, only thing he got to do is, tell his boy, then Clutch Sports, gets Big Perk to say something crazy. So to me, this is no different in the sense that, hey, we got an album rolling out. This is already on the fringe. We're already expecting mixed reviews. We don't need anybody coming after this. All right. So here comes Miss Banks unmuting. Okay. Well, this is an easy one. Score. This is an easy one. Hey, write up how she always gets in the internet beefs with people. Try to discredit her that way. So that, I feel like that's how it went. So to specifically aim at Miss Banks, I don't think anybody really cares, and this is no slight to her. I don't think anybody cares about what she does besides her and her fans. Kind of like
Hmm.
on some Doja Cat stuff. It's literally the
Hmm.
same type of energy, really. Like if we all went to school with Azalea Banks would be in a clique with her own people, being the weird leader and being abrasive to everybody. And that's pretty much her thing. So if Billboard wrote that she's an abrasive person, that's not really smearing. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what she does.
Right.
So that's the part about it was like, I don't know how much I can go for this, but I would say that yes, whether it's an artist or a record label or whatever corporate interest, if you are trying to defame them, they'll come back and try to defame you. Um, Last thing I'll say is that I heard a saying. Somebody says that um, what it said. I forgot what it was, but it was something more or less the lines like around towards like corruption. Like, you can't basically you can't try to end corruption because those are corrupt people and they're basically more corrupt than you. And so if there's a situation where your feels like, oh, I'm hollering at these people because they're this, they're that, they're trying to control the industry, they're trying to control narratives. You're right. And watch us take what you just said and spin a narrative against your ass.
Mhm. Yeah.
So so she's gonna get painted out to be a weird person for this. I do think that there's a degree of truth to it, but I think this is just more of her being in her own world and only seeing it through one perspective. What are your thoughts, sir? How do you feel about all of this? Jay-Z, Beyonce, country music, Azealia Banks. What's going on?
I don't think I don't think I don't think there's an active effort to smear or silence her. I don't. I don't think Jay-Z, Team Rock Nation, whoever, Beyonce, whomever. I don't think that they're like, ooh, she was critical of our Queen's country music. Let's put a hit out her on Billboard. I don't think that that's happening. But what I will say is because of who it was that Azalea Banks was talking about, it became worth it for media outlets to turn the microscope back and take a look at Azalea Banks, right?
Correct.
So if so this is more so a byproduct of how the media operates, how the media behaves, because due to the fact that Azalea Banks was critical of Beyonce's music specifically, and Beyonce is such a huge name, then the media is going to then say, wow, this is somebody who's saying something about, you know, the Queen Mother, Beyonce herself. And Beyonce is such a huge lightning rod of a name. Being critical of those comments, you're going to create a situation in which the media is going to take a look at you because of who it is you're talking about. Azalea Banks has been uh, outspoken and abrasive for a long time, and she goes at different people. It never causes a media storm. The difference here is who it is she's talking about this time. Because it happened to be Beyonce, now it's a story because Beyonce is who Beyonce is. That doesn't mean that it's being done intentionally to smear her. It's just being curtailed into an opportunity to create media narratives for attention. Attention that benefits Billboard, benefits Beyonce as well, but also in a roundabout way, even though she doesn't like it, it does benefit Azalea Banks because people are going to be talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just more so a function of how the media operates, more so than an intended attempt to silence her because she dared be critical of Beyonce's music. So that's the whole smear thing. I want to sort of put that in a box and lock it away because I'm not buying that. But as it pertains to what she said, I like what she said because this is literally an infiltration into another sandbox. And whenever there's an infiltration into another sandbox, it's going to be met with aggressiveness. Case in point, Taylor Swift. Like as sports fans, we like abhor Taylor Swift, not because of Taylor Swift as a person or her music. I don't know her music from a can of paint. I said before I couldn't name three songs by Taylor Swift. Maybe if I was in a crowded place and somebody played the song, I would it would be familiar, but I wouldn't know, oh, that's Taylor Swift. Like somebody would have to tell me that's a Taylor Swift song. I don't follow her like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the media circus surrounding Taylor Swift in the NFL because of her alleged relationship with Travis Kelce was annoying to me because this is popular culture and TikTok world dipping its toe into the sandbox of an area that I'm going to be in regardless, which is my consumption of the NFL. So it rubbed me in a way that was aggravating because I'm going to watch these games regardless. I don't need Taylor Swift to convince me to watch the NFL. I'm going to be here. So whenever you have that infiltration into a different sandbox, the individuals who are already occupying that sandbox are going to meet that infiltration aggressively. And Beyonce is no different because she's trying to dip her toe in the country sandbox, and people are going to have some stuff to say about it because it's like, hey, you just got here. We've been doing this stuff. I think Azealia Banks' critique of the music itself was warranted. There's nothing wrong with that. If anybody has an issue with what she had to say about the music from a critical standpoint, I think you need to check your ego at the door and turn down the Beyonce fandom because those were comments that were completely just, in my opinion, in terms of the level of their critique. There was nothing wrong with that. Now, she might be going a little bit left, saying that there's an attempt to smear her, but what she initially said was correct, and her response was also correct. And here's my bigger takeaway from this. Beyonce, I roll my eyes at the idea that Beyonce is going to make country music. It's an eye roll because it's like, why do you have to infiltrate the country music scene, or as Azealia Banks likes to put it, white Americana music or white music Americana or whatever she said? Like, are you doing this because you want to appeal to a different fan base, or are you doing it because there's legitimately a part of your artistry that speaks to making country music? I would like to think that if there was a specific part of yourself and your soul and your artistry that spoke to making country music, you would have been done it a long time ago. It wouldn't have taken you. How long has Beyonce been around? 20 plus years?
Yeah.
It wouldn't have taken over 20 decades for you to make country music if that was truly a part of who you are as an artist. You're doing this because you're trying to appeal to a different fan base and capitalize off your namesake. That's the part about it that's the part about it that's going to make people roll their eyes. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Azealia Banks calling that out. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with calling that out. Furthermore, if there's any good that's going to come from this situation, and I mentioned this before when we touched on this whole thing with Beyonce making country music, here's my thing. Everybody out there in the community, right? If Beyonce going into country music makes you realize that you have the capacity to embrace country music as a form of music that you could enjoy as a consumer of music, then I would implore you to also listen to other Black country music artists because they've been around for years and years. And like Azealia Banks said in her initial comments, they do it way better than her. And it actually speaks to their soul as an artist. It's not some cockamamie attempt to appeal to a different fan base, to try and amass more trophies and pick up more awards nominations or whatever it is that they're trying to do by having her be a country music artist. So if it's really like that and you realize, oh, Beyonce is getting in the country, let me pay more attention to country music. If it's really like that, then go ahead and give some love, show some support, pay some attention to the litany of country music artists who've been in that space for years and years, been making that music, and they actually do it because it's a part of who they are. So let's give them some love if you're realizing that Beyonce's foray into country music allows you to discover, oh, I have the capacity to consume this music too. So that's my biggest takeaway from this. Hey, man, let's pay some attention to people like Kane Brown. I mentioned this guy last time we talked about this, Jimmy Allen. Let's listen to some people like him. Allison Russell. I mentioned Darius Rucker. He's an old head, but he's been making country music for years. The guy who's a drummer for Hootie and the Blowfish been doing this. Amethyst, Kaya, Brittany Spencer. One of the ones that I started hearing about recently because they kind of been blowing up on the scene lately is Mickey Guyton. So like, let's pay attention to people like this because they're actually country music artists, not R&B singers who are trying to appeal to a wider fan base. So that's my whole thing. If it's really about the music and listening to the music, and if you really want to prove Azealia Banks wrong because you love Beyonce so much, then prove her wrong and actually listen to country music, not just do it on a whim because Beyonce decided to make this abomination of a country music album, but you're going to listen to it anyway because you're one of these zombie Beyonce fans.
Hey, what, just 2 topics ago, we were just embracing
non-conformity.
Yeah. Venturing off to a new path, starting something new, starting fresh, reinventing yourself. I'm sorry. But the difference between that and, I'll speak for myself, praising what Andre did and me criticizing what Beyonce's doing is that what Beyonce, the Andre stuff is authentic. It comes off very authentic. And even when JV said, hey, I felt as though it's not all the way 100. I felt like a little 50-50, him not knowing what he was going to do, but still, there was still a level of, but whatever he decided to do was authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So the praising of somebody being their authentic self, stepping into their path, wherever it may take them, is worth celebration. I think more people should do that. The difference between what Andre's doing and what she's doing is that, as Azealia mentioned, and as I agreed in my first comments, is that it doesn't sound as though you even listen to this art form for real. This sounds, I don't even know what to make of this. So much so that you can play it off as it's not really country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so ambiguous. I don't know what she was trying to do.
Yeah, I think I legitimately think that she's only dialing that back because she sees people aren't buying it. But if people were buying that it was legitimately country, she'd be leaning into it. So she's just trying to straddle the fence.
Yeah, she's trying to make her own reggaeton. Trying to have an R&B country splice. Look, Beyonce. Look, I'm not buying this, man. I wasn't buying it then. When I heard it, when I first heard that she was doing country, I was like, oh no, please don't do this to your career. Look, I wasn't already buying you, but there's people out there that was buying what she was doing. And you're gonna mess that up by coming out here and doing this. So to me, this is no different than, she's gonna have to come back with another R&B album like ASAP, a double album to try to sweep this under the rug. No different than Lil Wayne when he picked up his guitar for that one album. He had to sweep that under the rug with more mixtapes just so people can forget that he tried to be a rock star for an album. It wasn't good. So I'm not saying that people can't venture out and people can't be themselves and do what feels good to them, but this really felt, as you said too, it felt as though this was more of a, I'm trying to get crossover appeal. I'm trying to make more money versus me actually speaking through a part of myself. I heard one country song just scrolling through TikTok, and some, white dude, younger guy, kind of like he's rapping, but he's singing. But the stuff he was saying about his relationship, the heartache that he was going through, was well woven. It was well said. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. I could see why people really into this like that, But the thing that what Beyonce's doing ain't no, this ain't Texas. This ain't no Hold'em. Spin round. Well, you want people to mosey to this? You want people to square dance to this? Oh, that's what you try to make a square dance hit. Girl, stop. So I felt as though it was embarrassing. I felt as though it was embarrassing. And for anybody to criticize it, that's what I'm saying. I feel like Azealia is not the only one. I feel as though because we're not hearing it so much is an indictment on Beyonce. Beyonce will have the streets on fire by now. You know what I'm saying? Because when Lemonade dropped, I mean, Lemonade was coming up every day.
Yeah.
It was coming up every day in roundabout circles. I mean, we scroll looking for topics on here. We would have seen, Beyonce stuff. Nah, man, this is not hitting. And this is coming from a titan and icon herself. So that shows you how underwhelming these songs were. So this isn't, oh, y'all hate. No, this. You look at the metrics. It proves how underwhelming this song was. That ain't from hate. This is from it not being good. So yeah, man. So I think what it really boils down to is that yeah, they're gonna have to try again with something else and just be more authentic, man, and stop being fake. I think that's also the takeaway here is that you see what happened when you try to fake the funk. Just be you and do whatever it is that you do, because as you can see, even if you swing for the fences like this, you can still fall flat on your face. So if you end up doing what you always wanted to do and it didn't end up how you wanted it to, you can always go to sleep at night and say, I ain't sell myself out for it though. And I did what I wanted to do because it made me happy at that time. And one thing Beyonce gonna do is she gonna go to her whenever something come up. I don't know how that's gonna come up when it come to her show. She ain't even gonna do that. She gonna be Owen instead of singing some Texas Hold'em. She gonna be singing all her old classics. So yeah, man. Shouts out to Miss Banks, man. I'm never really that much agreeing with her. I always see where she's coming from, but I never really agree with her. But on this one, I guess I'm the same with that. So that's kind of 50-50. But I agree that stuff whack though. I do agree.
Yeah, I think her criticisms were fair. Definitely very fair. They were very valid. And I also think that her follow-up was also even more valid in terms of if it's really about country music and shedding a light on that, don't fall for this posturing act on behalf of Beyonce trying to position herself as this courageous, heroic black person who's trying to get into country music and change the game, because we have a healthy stable of black country music artists who are doing country music, and they've been doing it, and it actually is who they are as an artist. It speaks directly to their soul and their artistry. So let's start listening to some of them, okay? Instead of feeling like your only foray into country music is through consuming whatever it is that Beyonce's doing. And I said this before, like like non-conformity, part of that is our consumption of music and content. And country is a part of that. There's been black people doing country music. As we said before, if you can trace the origins of this, just look up a Wikipedia history of country music. Its origins have black people riddled all through it. So it isn't that historically black artists have never been involved. We've always been involved. We were just sold on the idea that it isn't our genre of music because we were urbanized. So don't let this act fool you of Beyonce trying to say, oh, the first black woman to do this or a black woman to no. All of these black women in country music, listen to them. If it's like that, then listen to them. Branch out. Be about it. Don't just talk about it. You ain't gotta it doesn't have to be a Beyonce album for you to listen to country music. Nobody's stopping you. If it's like that, listen to some of these country music artists making this country music, these black artists, men and women, and she was right on the money with that. She was absolutely right on the money with that. And again, very last point that I'll say, if this was truly what Beyonce was about, it wouldn't have taken her 20 plus years. She would have been experimenting with country music a long time ago. How long did it take Lil Wayne to experiment with Rebirth? That was what, 15 years ago? How long ago was that? That was like 15 years ago. That was forever ago when he did that.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. Y'all know I'm guessing.
That was around 2009, 2010-ish.
Yeah, it was a minute ago, right? So it's not going to take you 20, 25 years to decide, oh, let me experiment now, especially when you're someone as big as her and you're Teflon. Like, nothing can damage her. So it isn't like you do it and it fails. It's going to come back to bite you in the ass. You're Beyonce. You can just keep it pushing. So she could have been done this if it was really about making different kind of music the way she wanted to. It's just at the end of the day, she's free to do whatever she wants. Just don't sell me on this idea that she's, you know, founding new frontier. There's all kinds of black artists in here making country music, and y'all been ignoring them from the jump. So how about you stop ignoring them and y'all start listening to them too?
Facts, man. Hey, Beyonce, catch you at the hoedown. Hey, like and subscribe, man. Screw, screw. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? We're trying to reach 1K around here, man.
yeah. You too, Beyonce. You too, Beyonce. Subscribe to the damn channel.
Because I know you watching.
Yeah. With all due respect. Okay, this is a very interesting thing that we are going to get into. So, the overlay that you see there, this is an individual by the name of, well, her rapper name. Her rapper name is Drippin' Honey. Drippin' Honey
shit.
is Drippin' Honey is a Detroit area aspiring hip hop star who goes by her real name is Dominique Brown. That's her real name. The reason why this is trending is because she's also a teacher at a high school. And apparently, she was recently fired from her teaching job because of the fact that she's trying to be a hip hop star. She's trying to be a rapper. She's making rap music. And apparently, she was told once the administration discovered what she's doing with her music career, she was told, hey, no more of this rap stuff. And of course, she's not going to back down. She's going to keep making her music. She kept making her music. Now she's done. They fired her. And so now it's become a bit of a story because this Drippin' Honey, an aspiring rapper in the Detroit area who is also a teacher at a Detroit high school, has been fired after parents complained about her music video. So that's what happened here. So this article says Detroit teacher fired after parent complains about her viral video, Drippin' 101. Detroit rapper Drippin' Honey, who also teaches in the Detroit area and goes by the name Miss Brown, was reportedly fired from her job because of her music career. In a TikTok video, Honey explained that the parent of one of her students was very unhappy about her new music video, Drippin' 101. She alleges that even months after constant meetings with her employer about her involvement in the music industry, she was ultimately asked to erase all her content. Brown added that the video featured her students, one of whom was wearing merchandise from Taylor Preparatory High School, though it's unclear if that was the school she was fired from. The video has garnered over 235,000 likes on TikTok. Now, you can see there again, link to this article will be in the description of this video. You can go ahead and play the music video there, Drippin' Honey. I'm not going to play the video because if there's an IP, stipulation on it, this video will get flagged for copyright reasons. So I'm not going to play the music video. You can play it for yourself. But yeah, she was fired from her high school job after she was asked to erase her content. She didn't do it. And on top of that, parents were complaining about the nature of her music. Now, I will say, if you watch the music video, it is suggestive. It is the content, the lyrics are suggestive. But, be that as it may, despite how suggestive the content was, it is nevertheless music. It's not like we're talking about a chick who does OnlyFans or is a sex worker. So this is the first time that we've seen, or at least for me personally, this is the first time I've heard of someone being fired from a post in education due to the fact that they were making music outside of their job. So what do you make of this story, man? Miss Dominique Brown, do you think that she was done dirty here?
Boy, that's a tough question.
It is. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one because when I watched the video, my barometer was if I was in high school and my teacher dropped this, how would I feel about it? And I'm sitting there, damn it, my shit hopping, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at it. I'm really trying to figure out, like, is this appropriate or not? And then I was like, if I was in school, I would have been like, there's nothing wrong with this. I personally don't care. Hang tight, bro. What I'm
Yeah,
gonna do is,
you want to back out and back in.
yeah, let me back out, bro, and you give your take, and then I'll hop right back on there. How
All
about
right,
that?
yeah, I'll back out.
I'm on Scramble TV. It's like Cinemax before you hit the scramble.
So yeah, Dogon SS is gonna back out and then back in because he's having a little technical issues with his camera. So we'll go ahead and pause for a moment and we'll let him continue. And we'll let him continue once he gets back in. No biggie, these types of things happen. So it is all good, but just a slight little technical issue with his camera. So I'll go ahead and filibuster for a little bit while he goes ahead and gets that corrected. But yeah, as I was saying, this is the first time that I personally have heard of a story like this, in which we have somebody in the education system who was let go of her post due to what she was doing outside of her job as a teacher in the music industry. But looks like we got Dogon back. So yeah, we'll go ahead and let you continue, bro. I was filibustering there while you got
Oh,
the camera back.
you a gerrymandering?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm sitting there, so I'm looking at this as if I was in high school. And by the way, man, when I was in high school, bro, I thought I was an adult. So if my teacher was doing that, I would be like, "Hey, yo, this live. Like, can I be in the video? Like, hey, I'm on TV. Hey, you know what I'm saying? We're on World Star." It would have been a movie for me if I was a kid. I would have heard worse songs if I was a high school kid. I would have seen worse videos if I was a high schooler. So the thing is that yes, it is suggestive and it's teetering on the line of professionalism. And so do I think she needed to have been fired? I felt like fired was aggressive, but honestly, I don't know what the board or was supposed to do when there's concerned parents that there's a sexy red teacher. They probably didn't even hear the song. They just know that the teacher's rapping. She was twerking too. She was fully clothed. She was twerking though. So it was just a lot going on. And I just think that when I was looking, I was like, you know what, this is too much. This is too much. And I can see why they fired her. And I can also see why she would be like, come on, though. Like, this is my art. Or like, it's a wild dynamic. But as you mentioned, this is not apples to apples with that that OnlyFans teacher we covered a few weeks ago. This is not akin to that, but it is within the same. It's in the same arena. They're not in the same court playing. It's a different court, but y'all in the same arena, and it's just not a good look. Like, the only people that go to that arena, shouldn't be going to schoolyards too. So so it's just wild, man. I kind of feel bad for her because, again, I've heard worse. So what are your thoughts, man? How do you feel about all of this, man? Do you feel as though it's fair, it's equitable? Like, should she receive this treatment, or was it a little heavy-handed?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, dog.
And that might be the first time that's ever been my response to any topic that we've done on this channel. I don't know. Because initially, when you sent me this and I was reading it and then I watched the video, I was like, that's kind of suggestive.
It kind of was.
But at the same time, I also thought, like, this is a where's the line conversation for me. Where's the line, right? So for me, I always told myself I draw the line at sex work. Like, listen, you wanna live in this new media, new human world where there's all of these different dynamic ways to make money and support yourself, like being a sex worker by leveraging the internet to do your sex work, then fine. But understand that you're going to have to make concessions the concessions are going to have to be made on your part if that's the road in life that you choose. One of those concessions being, hey, I can't be a teacher. Like as a sex worker, a concession that I'm going to have to make is I might not be able to be a teacher at a school, you
Yeah,
know?
you're right.
And
Yeah.
that's just a concession that you're just going to have to make
Yeah.
because it is, even though it's not illegal, it is a bit improper in terms of the influence over children and the fact that you create this kind of content on a regular
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, where's the line? And so as an outsider looking in, I was like, well, I kind of have a problem with them firing her because I draw the line at sex work. Like I draw the line at like sex work and truly egregious things like, you know, like child abuse and the real bad stuff like being a pedo and all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So like I draw the line at that kind of stuff when it comes to art. Can you be a teacher still?
Mhm.
You can't be doing OnlyFans. You can't be a porn star and still teach. I'm sorry. That's just a concession. Is trying to be a rapper a part of that line? Initially, for me, I said, no, it's not. She's trying to make music. To me, it's not as offensive to me as being a sex worker. That's what I initially told myself. But then I asked myself this question.
Mhm.
I said, okay, if my child,
Mhm.
if I had a child
Mhm.
and my child's teacher was this chick, would I be uncomfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm removing them from the class.
Right. Like I asked myself that honest question. I was like, okay, if I had a kid, my own kid, my flesh and blood, and I happened to be on TikTok one day and saw that one of my kids' teachers had a ratchet music video like this and it was going hard in the streets of Detroit, would I be would I be uncomfortable with that? And the honest truth is, yes, I would be. I would be. So it's one of those situations where I really don't know. Like, as a non-parent, I want to say it's not as bad as being a sex worker. So no, she shouldn't have been let go. But at the same time, the administration has the right. And this is what people who are living in new human society need to understand. You're not beholden to do whatever you want culture when it comes to the workplace. Like, we're not there yet. So you can't just be willy-nilly being a sex worker and doing all kinds of other suggestive things and think that you can just walk into a professional environment and people are going to separate the two. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression is not is limited to the professional workplace. And a lot of people forget that in the professional workplace, your employer and the administrative governing body can determine that it is against their rules for you to be an active person making content like that and work for them.
Yeah.
So if they did that and they had the right to say, hey, listen, we're getting complaints from parents. We're going to have to ask you to kind of desist with this. And she kept making the music and didn't take it down. Then at that point, you get what you got coming to you in terms of being terminated. It is what it is. Intrinsically, do I think it's a bit much? Perhaps. But then at the end of the day, I think to myself, if I'm a parent and I see that my child's teacher has this music video out here where she's busting it wide open and talking about money and tricking and doing all of this other stuff, as a parent, would I take issue with it? Probably, I would.
She was talking about tricking. I think she did have a line. It was some stuff in there where I'm listening. I'm like, oh, let me listen to it. But I know she did say some stuff like she was getting head or some stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm like. So I'm just like, okay, if I have a parent, even if my kid's in high school, I don't care. They're still a child.
Yeah.
They're still a child. You are even if you're in high school, you are at the mercy of suggestive content. I mean, we were in high school and we're on the higher end of the intelligent quotient, and we were still very susceptible to certain forms of messages.
Oh yeah.
and this was pre-Instagram and TikTok and YouTube.
Oh yes, brother.
So my thing is, as a parent, would I have an issue with it? Yeah, I would. And so I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. Intrinsically, I would say it doesn't strike me as crossing the line the way sex working does.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was a parent, I would have a problem with it. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of my roundabout way of having a non-answer because I don't like it. Yeah, like I don't like it, but I like it because at the end of the day, it is suggestive. And if I'm a parent, I probably have a problem with it. So to me, it's understandable that she was fired, even though it's unusual in that usually we hear stuff about this. Usually we hear stuff like this with these teachers who do OnlyFans, right? I've heard many stories with teachers getting fired because they do OnlyFans. Never heard one about this. But like you said, they're they're kind of in the same ballpark. And it's like, this is the world that we live in now with this deconstruction that we got going on, where this is another aspect of it. We can observe another attempt at social deconstruction. Yes, I'm a teacher, but I can also be a thought box ratchet rapper and be a teacher. Previously, we wouldn't have. Previously, that would have been a no-go, right? We would have known that there's some impropriety inherent in that. But in this new world, it's like we are being forced to accept that your kid can go to school and your teacher may be a thought ratchet rapper. I'm just saying. Like,
no, it's because it's happening. This is the one we know about.
Yes, right. This is one of those attempts at deconstruction, social deconstruction.
Yeah.
So the best that I can say is, if I'm a parent, I would have a problem with it. And if I'm saying that, then I can also say that as a parent, if my child was in this woman's classroom, I probably would be okay with them firing her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And because I was just thinking about the inverse, like if it was a male teacher. And if there was a male teacher, in my mind, automatically, I already know if he's a rapper, he better be rapping like this over here. His videos better be like this over here. And if it looks, smells, tastes like any of these other videos that these other clowns is doing, you're not being professional. And you won't have a job. So for instance, if he was like D1 and he's rapping like D1, where he's talking about philosophical stuff, and I'm trying to get people into school, I'm trying to get people into religion, and it's just like, well, who's mad at that? I've heard some of your raps. It's pretty good. Why don't more guys rap like this? That's D1. And if you were a teacher who was a rapper, that better be your whole lane. Andre 3K, even above that. Like, you can't even, like, certain cuss words and stuff, like, you got to be on another level. But if you have one fast car, one brick of money, putting it to your ear, you know what I'm saying? I just want the head. I don't need the cat. Excuse me, sir. And you're teaching my son Alex. It's like, nah, man, you're out of here. So I can see that because, we really don't see, first of all, which is sad anyway, that there's not enough black male teachers. Let's go ahead and throw that out there. Yeah, that's sad. So it's not really much room for that. It's not enough marbles in that jar to pick one. But we got a lot of female teachers in the trap, and they've been thoughting. And we knew this. You know what I'm saying? Soon as bell rings, she's hot in the pants. She's going somewhere crazy. She doing her thing, city girling. So they're all teachers. So for one of them to pick up a microphone, I don't think this is the first time we're going to hear about this. And I think it's going to be a growing phenomenon because there's a growing phenomenon of women picking up the microphone.
Yeah.
And that's why I was trying to listen, is trying to see what she was saying. And I'm like, all right, now you a teacher. Now everybody going to come to school with this. So how are you going to play it? And she was saying to me a little bit too much sexual stuff. And I was like, the way she going to play this is when she's actually on, because her whole thing is, I wasn't even explicit as I can be. This video wasn't as ratchet as it could have been. But if this woman gets on, trust and believe, she'll be sexy red in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She'll be talking about booty holes being brown. So, giving her the opportunity, she would be doing that. That's the lane she's in. So with all of that being said, she was wearing that uniform. You can't wear that uniform to school. And that's what it looked like what happened here. So yeah, man, I don't like seeing people getting fired. I just don't like that. I guess that's just me, the person that just don't want me to get fired somewhere. So it's like, hey man, don't lose your job over that. But I get it, man. When you're in certain fields, you got to say certain things and tote certain lines. So I feel like she violated. But this is new stuff, bro. So we're gonna be saying this a lot more often, I feel.
Yeah, one of my, I have several themes that you'll hear throughout my commentary on this channel: echo chambers, nonconformity. One of my themes is social deconstruction. We talk about that a lot when we deal with topics relating to things like gender. And my whole thing is this is an aspect of social deconstruction where it's like, why can't I be a ratchet rapper and be a teacher? Like we're deconstructing it down to its base model so that we can build it back up with entirely new rules and perspectives. And
Anarchy.
so this, yeah, and so this is what we're seeing. And so the thing about it is it going to take or is it not? Only time will tell. But I think at this point, we're still at a juncture in which certain aspects of making a living or certain things that you do come with certain concessions, and it's not unreasonable to ask that you make those concessions. So if you're trying to be one of these kinds of ratchet rappers like this, one of those concessions is maybe you cannot teach young kids. Maybe that's just a concession you'll have to make. And just like if you have an OnlyFans page and you're literally getting bust down in front of a camera to your subscribers, it's uncouth for you to be a teacher at that point. It just is. It just is, man. It just is. But the social deconstruction contingent inherent in the West is one that dictates that we're trying to make that not the case. So she's trying to be someone who can be a teacher, and I'm pretty sure she did her job well.
Yeah,
I'm going to give her the benefit of that, of being someone who's a good teacher.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to toe that line. At least we're not in a complete and total state of social anarchy. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there, but we haven't arrived at that point just yet, where we
Yeah.
have porn stars and Cardi B, sexy red sounding rappers teaching kids in elementary school and middle school and high school. But, as the internet continues to proliferate, I agree with you 100%. We will see more examples of this. At the end of the day, I just tapped into my sensibilities as a would-be teacher. Would I have an issue with this kind of content coming from the teacher of my own child? And in my heart of hearts, if I'm answering the question honestly, I would be. Would I want her to get fired? Perhaps not. But if she's unwilling to play by the rules that the school dictates, then hey, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I know that I would prefer it if my own child wasn't being educated by somebody who I can find on YouTube producing content like this. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. It's like it's like the age old adage of pornography. Well, how do you know it's porn? I know it when I see it. And this is something where it's like, yeah, I know when it crosses the line for me when I see it. And for me, if this was my kid being taught by this chick and she's making this kind of music, I feel some type of way about it. So I don't know, man. We'll continue to evolve, continue to move along with how the society is continuing to evolve. But at this point, we're still at the stage where when you're doing certain things, certain concessions got to be made. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say is, and this is to Drip and Honey, because I know she watched. So for Drip and Honey, this is what I'll say, because I know she didn't want to be a teacher in the first place. She wanted to be a rapper. If her song had blew up, she was gonna finesse the game and then leave the kids, but not leave them like I don't love them. Just leave them like this was just a placeholder to buy studio time. Look, y'all made it, and she was just gonna be who she was. So my advice to her is that this sucks, but you're getting a lot of pub right now. You made it to the conscious approach. So my whole thing is flip this. And don't be the teacher that got fired. Be Drippy Honey with the new publicity that you're getting. Yeah. So best of luck to you, because I felt like I feel like, I don't know, man, call me crazy, man. I feel like she's a cool person. I don't think I've seen worse.
Yeah,
I've seen worse. So I feel like she's cool, and so she'll make it if she keep trying. So
Yeah.
keep at it, man. Don't like to see her get fired for this, but as you mentioned, bro, that certain things comes with things, and if you
Yeah.
want to get in this industry, you might have to give up this part of what you want to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, wild stuff, bro, wild stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is wild, man. Yo, good luck to you, Miss Brown. Dripping honey. Good luck to you. Good luck to you.
I
But
thought you were talking about her booty hole, but that's
that's
it. That is her last name. Yeah, Miss Brown. My bad.
dripping honey. Good luck to you, sweetheart. But yeah, man, we still at the point where concessions have to be made.
Yeah,
Um, it is what it is. But crazy. Very interesting story though. Interesting
yeah,
story.
yeah.
Here we go. Friend of the channel, Meek Mill. Friend of the channel. Friend of the channel, Meek Mill. Uh, Meek Mill is well documented
Ugh,
as a
bunny hopper.
yeah. Well, that's one of those things. Michael Rubin dancer is another
Right.
thing. Giving out Michael Rubin hugs. Um, out there with Drake giving out Michael Rubin hugs.
Jeez.
But yeah, he's one of these, I'm a hard, you know, rapper slash social justice advocate at the same time, right? We've covered Meek on this channel before. This is going to be a continuation of the spotlight on Meek Mill and what he does juxtaposed to what he says, because it's very important that people pay attention to stuff like this. But Meek Mill, very Azealia Banks like, went on to social media and talked about how he wants to donate 10% of his music earnings to combat gun violence in the city of Philadelphia.
What?
He said this. So this caught the eye of longtime Meek Mill adversary and troll, and just troll overall, DJ Akademiks, who called hypocrisy on this thing that on what Meek Mill had to say here. So this article here says Meek Mill offers to donate 10% of his earnings to combating gun violence in Philadelphia. DJ Akademiks responds, Meek Mill wants to work with the city of Philadelphia to contribute 10% of his music earnings to fighting gun violence in his hometown. Reflecting on the death of local rapper Fat G's on Twitter, Meek explained that he wants to sign a contract to commit to the idea. Despite the good nature of the post, DJ Akademiks called him out for the violent lyrical content of his music. Quote, I'm going to do a public contract with the city of Philadelphia where 10% of my music earnings go to the city of Philadelphia to combat gun violence in our city. I'm going to start this movement. PIP, I think he meant RIP. RIP Fat G's. I want to do, and he needs to get his stuff spell checked before he hits send. I want to do a contract, the city of Philadelphia, Meek wrote on Twitter. In response, Akademiks fired back. Rap about gun violence to increase violence in the inner cities by 400%, then pledge a measly 10% of your earnings from said rapping to combat the same violence your music just promoted. Wow, this guy is a saint. Fat G's was shot and killed in Philadelphia on Sunday night after a passenger inside a vehicle opened fire on him. Police have yet to make any arrests in the case and are offering $20,000 on the suspected shooter. On Monday, Meek also labeled the city a, quote, terrible place for Black people to live and noted that you see too much death. Check out his latest post referencing Fat G's below. I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that.
It's unbelievable.
Meek and Akademiks have been feuding for a long time. Earlier this month, Meek appeared to threaten Akademiks on Twitter. Be on the lookout for future updates on Meek Mill on Hot New Hip Hop. So, DJ Akademiks called out Meek Mill for hypocrisy given his lyrics. And Meek is talking about donating 10% of his earnings to combat gun violence in Philadelphia. He wants to sign a contract to do this. And on top of that, he talked about how the city of Philadelphia has become too difficult for black people to live in because there's too much violence. Um, go.
I mean, what? So right now I'm looking at lyrics from Meek Mill
Yeah.
last year, 2023, from the song Shaq and Kobe featuring Rick Ross. I'm gonna just read this little part here. All right, what is it? What was it at? Anywhere in the trenches, I be active when they play with them. I don't know what he's talking about, but it says statement got retracted when niggas ratted because we sprayed niggas. What is he talking about? He said just last year.
Yeah.
And the album he's actively getting paid for. Part of that 10% is coming from that. And he just said that somebody was ratting. Somebody's retracting statements because they knew that me and my guys killed people. I want to stop gun violence. Bro, that's actively being played in some young bull's head. And now, what do you think these guys are going to do? When they're in their perk 30s and, they want a rollie on their wrist like you, Meek. They're going to be on some wild stuff, using guns that you talk about so frequently in your songs until this date. The hypocrisy from this guy is not
unreal.
It's not even laughable anymore. It's to the point where it's like, this guy's really crazy. No, he has to be crazy. This guy does not think past the next step. It's like he's skits. It's like he's bipolar, multiple personality disorder. This guy, there's something that's clinically wrong with this human. The types of texting or tweeting that he's been doing over this just period. I saw a video where they were just calling out some of the stuff that he told us, some of the stuff he said, hey, how do y'all listen to my music in Africa? He said that. He tweeted that. Yeah, he tweeted, hey, y'all think I'm falling off? He tweets stuff that just randomly comes into his head. And so much like Tyrese, I had, issued a court order for him to just have somebody review his text before he send it. As you mentioned, I mean, this guy's not even writing in, coherent grammar. There's ways that you can short speak and still make sense. This guy's all over the map when he's talking. So with all of this being said, I really think the man is slow. I think that's where we're at. And for him to be, as you mentioned, a Reuben dancer, boy, that is great. So for him being a Reuben dancer, him affiliated with, Diddy Puff, him being affiliated with Robert Kraft. I mean, look at his homeboys. I'm the most thuggish dude, bro. Hanging out with human trafficker, allegedly Robert Kraft, allegedly Diddy Puff, and who knows what Ruben's into giving men hugs in private planes. So this your squad. This the chasers, bro. This the chasers. So my whole thing is, man, whatever type of, and by the way, if you guys, now I'm not a DJ Akademiks advocate, but in this situation, he absolutely roasted his career. He roasted it. And he memeified all of it. And I'll let you go, but he handled this spot on. Called him out for all of his hypocrisies and for all of the lame stuff that he does. And honestly, and Akademiks, he talks to the youth. And basically what he did was like cut at the root any chance this guy has for any type of street cred or what do you call it? What an activist type of career he's trying to make, because this guy's clearly playing both sides of the fence, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And if it's unknowingly, like I'm starting to think it is, I think the dude's actually like off. So
Mentally off. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about this whole situation, man? Meek Mill trying to give Temp, trying to pay tithes, trying to wash away his sins by paying 10% back to the hood. What are your thoughts, sir?
Honestly, I don't have too much more to add on to what you said there. Far be it for me to agree with a troll, but academics is 100% correct.
Yeah,
These guys need to start getting held accountable.
absolutely.
Like, we seem to be very quick to hold like rich white people accountable for stuff. We're very quick to hold corporations accountable for stuff. There's certain things that we have just decided as a society it's okay to hold them accountable to a highly scrutinized degree. Yet when it comes to the double talk and the hypocrisy coming from these rappers, we seem to just let it go. And we want to be able to play both sides. We want to be able to have it both ways. We want to be able to say, hey, man, don't really pay attention to listen to what they say because it's just entertainment. Their lyrics shouldn't govern your life. But then we also want to be able to say, hey, man, they're influential in helping us and they're really impactful in terms of what's going on in the streets. We should be listening to them. You can't have it both ways. If they're truly as influential and impactful as they're being made out to be, then the merit of their work needs to be called into question so that there can be some consistency there. Because at the end of the day, without consistency, without without the merit of what they say being genuine, juxtaposed to the work that they put out, you have nothing. As Scarface once eloquently put it, all I got is my balls, and my word. Your word, if your word means nothing, then you mean nothing to me.
Exactly.
These guys cannot continue to talk about the good that they want to do in the community, but then peddle content and material that is the complete antithesis of that. We have to start holding that stuff accountable. And this would not be a big deal if universally we were all of the understanding that you listen to this music very much in the same way that you go and watch Captain America or you go and watch one of these movies, right? You went to the movie the other day and you went and watched Doom 2. Okay, no one, when you left that theater, you didn't think that you were going to go outside and hop in your spaceship and fly to a desert planet where you can ride a giant worm, because you understand that that's entertainment and not real. But for whatever reason, we accord a certain modicum of realness to these dudes. These people are entertainers. That's all they are. But we don't understand collectively as a community, as a society, we don't understand that. We accord them authority. And my thing is, if you're going to accord them authority, then you need to hold them accountable for what they say and the work that they do. And so, I mean, guys just need to start getting held accountable. Those lyrics that you read, you couldn't have been more poignant with that, because that's literally the most recent piece of music that he made. This was in 2023. This wasn't in 2015 or 2012. This was less than a year. This was less than 6 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
When him and Rick Ross put that album out. This was very recent. He's still doing this. That's what D1 was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
D1 is like, you want to do what? I just heard you on this song with Rick Ross talking about what you still doing in the streets.
Right.
Oh, you want to make it better by saying, oh, it's not me who's doing it. Now I got my guys who will do it now. As if that makes it any better. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So what are you, a kingpin now? That makes it better because now you're not the one doing the shooting. You're the kingpin, so you can give the order out. I don't get it, man. And I thought about the same thing as well. I thought about whether there is a possibility that he has some kind of mental processor.
You know what I'm saying? He on the spectrum, bro.
Does he have some sort of mental processor which kind of prevents him from being able to adequately process what he's saying, to understand that there is a certain segment of the population that's going to take what you say as contradiction based upon what you typically do ordinarily. otherwise. You know, like a couple weeks ago, we talked about Joy Taylor and the comments she made where she's like, I want a man who has a bunch of female friends. And one of the things that you said was like, did you run this by somebody before you went and
Exactly.
said it?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with him. Like, clearly he doesn't run anything by anything,
No, he
by
doesn't.
anybody before he
No, he
hits
doesn't.
sand. He just shoots off at the hip and he
Yeah.
sends it.
Yep.
But the thing is, people, we got to stop believing this stuff. Stop believing these people. These individuals are clown fiesta minstrel shows. That's what they are. Stop according them authority. We got to start holding this stuff accountable. If y'all want to hold, if we want to cancel somebody for saying something and they getting fired from their job in Hollywood, right? Right. You know, you got these Hollywood people saying suggestive stuff on the internet and they getting canceled for it, getting fired off TV shows, right? Why can't we cancel these rappers for the same thing? What the hell is the difference? Somebody explain to me what the difference is. What's the difference?
I mean, honestly, bro, I want to see the come on, like I ain't gonna lie. So I got songs that if I end up liking them when I was a jit, you know, they get locked in to a perpetual forever playlist that, you know, I rock with. And Meek got songs in that. And I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's gonna be hard to listen to that. And one of them, and y'all part my French, bro, but I gotta say this line. It was one of the hardest verses he's ever had too, and he used this suspect ass line. Now I know what he really meant. I was like, what you mean by that? But what did he say? He said a whole bunch of cool stuff before this, but this was his punchline. This was his bar. He said, they call me Mr. Fuck a nigga because I don't need a hoe. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like, so this is what I try to do, much like how, you know, the big timers used to do whenever they was rhyming, they'll say some sus stuff, and I'll try to do this mental gymnastics to try to make it straight. I would. You know what I'm saying? And then I remember Lil Wayne, you know what I'm saying? He was like, because this was already when there was kissing rumors, he was like, in your throat, nigga, like Adam's apple, nigga. And I'm like, what do you mean by that, bro? You know what I'm saying? So Meek has said some sus stuff in his bars because these guys can't help it, bro. When you live in that life, bro, when you out here on PJs, you know, PJs with Diddy and Ruben, you know what I'm saying? And Lil Baby. You find this is a wild scene, bro. We living like this is like Black Mirror, bro. Like everything's coming out. This shit crazy. But when you live a life like that, some of your sus stuff gonna come out in your bars. So all that stuff to say is that I am in my 30s. But the songs that I did like from Meek was when I was younger. I really don't know how many people that are really in our cohort and up that listens to Meek for real, you know. I think most of it is people that was like slightly up under us. But I honestly, I would find people, it would be hard pressed for anybody that's an adult that can visualize anything this guy's saying and not feel some type of way when you hear his verses anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so when I hear his stuff, even though the bro was snapping, you know what I'm saying? You know, shining like aluminum foil. Like he said a whole bunch of stuff back then. I was like, man, this guy crazy with it. But now when I hear it, I go, look, bro, it's not that I thought these guys were killing people. I don't want him to be a killer or an actual drug dealer. What I want him to do is stand on business. And if you really about reform, be reformed. And he's not doing that. So the hypocrisy, I just can't deal with it. The Diddy Ruben stuff is wild stuff too. It taints all of this stuff for me. So sorry, Meek. I gave up on you on the last topic. So then the last topic we covered on you. So this one's no different. I'm just doubling down with being done with his ass. This guy's an absolute clown.
I just think as a community, we just got to start doing a better job of holding these people accountable.
When they say sus stuff, lame stuff, like, because that's what I'm trying to get at. There's something in that when they're doing that. And these guys that have been weird, and we go, we'll write it off. R. Kelly, are you weird? We'll write it off. Let's stop writing these people off.
Yeah.
And when these
Yeah.
people are being out here on this wild time and they're being a hypocrite, like Meek in this instance, like you said, let's hold him accountable and make him stand on something. Either be an all the way thug and crash out, or be an activist and save lives. But
Yeah.
stop playing with us.
Yeah, I'm just not understanding how you can continue to make these songs, but then say that you want to do all of this stuff. Like I don't get it. I don't understand how you can make a public appearance talking about how the music industry profits off of ignorance and puts artists in a position to where they make them make ignorant music and how we need to change that. But then you proceed to continue to make the same thing. Like I don't understand it, but I will always point out hypocrisies when they come around. And this is another example of this guy's flaming hypocrisy. It's unbelievable. And he needs a social media person around him 24/7, and he needs that person around him more than Tyrese does, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
That's saying something because Tyrese needs that bad.
Yeah.
But this guy to me he's ridiculous, man. He's ridiculous. I have no issues with him if it wasn't for the fact that he's always running his mouth about how he wants to fix and reform things.
Thank you.
Like, but I just don't get it. But I don't know who's falling for this stuff. But anybody out there, if y'all are falling for this stuff from this guy, pick the next person to listen to. Because I think the last one time we talked about Benny the Butcher. Because Benny the Butcher was mentioned in a D1 post when they was talking about your top 5 coke rappers. And I said, hey, man, I'm not the biggest fan of Benny the Butcher's content, but I will at least I'm not going to go at Benny the Butcher because you don't have Benny the Butcher, going on podcasts and attending business conferences, talking about police reform and cleaning up the streets and doing better with gun violence. If he was, then he'd be another target of hypocrisy. But at least I'll be like, okay, fine. I'll go ahead and listen to Benny the Butcher without it giving me cognitive dissonance because he's also, when he's not on tracks, telling me that he's this social activist.
Correct.
This guy's just a joke to me, man. This Meek stuff. If y'all fall for this stuff, man, please pick somebody else. Pick somebody else.
Seriously, man. And I know there's some real thorough people out there in Philadelphia, and I know he don't really represent y'all, so I ain't gonna judge all Philadelphia. Shout out to Philadelphia, man. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, all day. Last but not least, we gonna get into Diddy Puff. Speaking of Diddy Puff,
oh boy,
or as he likes to call himself these days, Love. No pun intended. Man, this was the stream of you can't make this stuff up. We had several topics on tonight where it's like you can't make this up. Like you couldn't write this in terms of how funny it is. But 50 Cent had some parting words for Diddy Puff in the wake of 2 of Diddy Puff's homes being raided by federal authorities. So for anyone who does not know, Diddy has been the subject of several lawsuits, dealing with like sexual harassment, crazy stuff, sex trafficking, all kind of crazy stuff involving him. He's being sued out the wazoo. It's crazy. And the feds raided 2 of his homes, one in California, I believe in LA, and the other one in Miami. And 50 had some thing to say about the fact that 2 of Diddy Puff's homes were raided. So this article says 50 Cent suggests feds wouldn't have raided Diddy's homes unless they got a case. 50 Cent wasted no time trolling Diddy again when news surfaced that federal agents raided Diddy's Los Angeles and Miami homes on Monday. Fifth was quick to slam the hip-hop mogul on Instagram with screenshots of stories from Fox 11 and TMZ. Shit just got real, 50 wrote alongside a photo from Fox 11's live news segment where Diddy's sons, King and Justin Combs, appear to be in handcuffs at the Los Angeles home. The feds in all the cribs. Damn, they got the kids in cuffs. 50 Cent added. 50 captioned a second screenshot from TMZ. Now it's not Diddy do it. Now it's not Diddy do it. It's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case. Homeland Security raided both of Sean Combs' homes in connection to a sex trafficking investigation. It's unknown if Diddy was present at the time of the raid. Fifth has been trolling Diddy ever since Cassie's lawsuit surfaced last November. Earlier this month, the Mini Men rapper took a shot at Diddy during a scheduled show in Phoenix when he teased the crowd about how they weren't showing him love. He said, "We don't want too much love. You know what happened with Brother Love and shit." A nod to the new nickname Diddy adopted in 2017. I don't know too much about this stuff, but given my limited knowledge of how the law works in situations like this, I would have to concur with what 50 said. They don't go so far as to conduct a raid unless they have at least some substantial piece of evidence or corroboration or confession of some sort or something of that nature. So it looks like Mr. Diddy Love here has his work cut out for him. And I would just say that stemming from the last video that we talked about with Meek, accountability must be had. All the other deviants were canceled, thrown under the jail, ostracized, blackballed, whatever adjective you want to use to describe what usually comes out of this situation here. And if this guy suffers anything like if this guy doesn't suffer, at least I don't want to use the word suffer. Suffer is a strong word, but we already have all sorts of crazy, wild conspiracies about what goes on with these hip hop circles. And if there's one thing that you can do to fuel the validity to some of these conspiracies, is having this gentleman here, Mr. Diddy, come out of this situation completely unscathed. So that's where I'll leave it. I've never been one to buy into conspiracies. I'm more of a fact-based guy. I like at least some proof, some evidence over periods of time, just because I like to believe. I don't like to fall in line with the post-truth society. I still like things like facts, evidence, data, and statistics. But be that as it may, there's a lot of crazy, wild stories that get said about what goes on in these circles. And if you want to fuel that fire and give validity to any of that stuff, just have this guy come out of this unscathed, and you'll certainly be throwing gasoline on that already lit fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'd be surprised if he comes out of this unscathed, to be honest. I would be shocked. I personally think he's done. I think I don't know why now. So I don't know why now. So that's the part about this that it's like that's interesting. I mean, this guy's been doing this for 30 years. So why now? So that's the part about it that's like, okay, but for me, it was better late than never. Whatever, whoop de whoop. I'll sign the line for innocent until proven guilty, but this bastard is guilty to me. And here's my thing with this guy. When we talked about Meek Mill being a clown, Drake being a clown, Future being a clown, this guy here is King Clown to me. He's in the pantheon. He's on the Mount Rushmore of clowns in this industry for our community post civil rights. This guy here is an absolute piece of crap, in my opinion. he really is. And I find it interesting that they're turning him in like this. He's been doing this for 30 years, and the feds knew about this for 30 years. So for this to come down now is a little bit interesting. And it's always funny how the people that sold themselves to whatever this is eventually get theirs in the end anyway. You don't win when you sign with these people. Same thing with R. Kelly. Everybody knew R. Kelly was doing that. They decide to turn on him when they decide to turn on him. But it's not like they didn't know. It's not like they didn't see the tapes. It's not like they didn't know there was tapes. So when all of this stuff that's going on, for all the stuff that got seized at Diddy Combs' house, tapes, computers, like they're gonna go through all of that stuff, man. And so yeah, man. I really feel like he was one of the head honchos, if not the Epstein of this in the rap game, and using Young Miami as his Giselle or Jocelyn or whatever it was.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the Maxwell.
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, that's who Young Miami was playing. Apparently Cassie was in that role, but she wasn't part of that life. She was enough to get abused. So I don't know why all this stuff's coming out now, but I am not upset about it. If there is truth to what these people that's been complaining for years been saying, I'm happy that those people are getting justice, their families are getting justice. I personally feel like he had things to do with Biggie's life, Tupac's, Shine's life getting thrown off, other people's lives getting thrown off, and this guy here is literally like, G-Dep,
Black Rob, all of them.
Yeah, all the whole, you know what I'm saying? The whole conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? So for all of those people that and loved ones of those, the people, the names that we don't even know, that he took him in back rooms and never gave him a deal. So this is for I feel like it's for all of that stuff, man. And I'm not mad at it. So with this, it's a can of worms. This is a can of worms. You know how many pictures this man got with people at parties? So it's a whole it's whenever people saw anybody with R. Kelly, or you used to hang out with R. Kelly, and people go, whoa, hey, whoa. And so now it's the thing where there's so much pictures, there's so much footage of people partying with Diddy, like how he wanted to party with Fabulous. And so people gonna have questions, people gonna start digging, the internet gonna start interneting. But honestly, this tumor needed to get out of the body. So if they're getting this guy off the streets and out of studios and out of other things, I feel as though that this cancer being removed is a positive. So we'll see what happens out of this. I would be shocked if they let him go. I really think this is going to be more of an Epstein situation. Now, if an Epstein situation happened, I'm calling it. Now that's fueling my conspiracies. So if he's maximized, held away, but found a way to unalive, I'm calling BS on that, and he probably chilling somewhere with Epstein on whatever island that is, somewhere else. So we'll see how this thing plays out, man. To me, this is all interesting. More chickens coming home to roost for this man, and I'm with 50 on this one. Feds got like a 99%, something crazy like that conviction rate. As soon as they start knocking on your door, man, you better have you some Johnny Cochrans. So wild stuff, bro.
Yeah, you don't see raids. That's the kind of stuff you only see when it's like,
it's intense.
Yeah, that's next level. I mean, we suffer the little children, as the expression goes. He would definitely need to incur the same kind of penalty that some of these other individuals have incurred. Not even, even people like take Epstein out of it, but even people like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein, he needs to be slotted right in there with that, where you not only have to deal with the legal ramifications of this, but publicly, your career needs to take a pretty substantial hit. I think that a lot of that stuff has to happen because otherwise you are going to fuel people's conspiracies on what's going on with these individuals in some of these circles. And I've heard it all, man. I've heard all kinds of cockamamie weirdo stuff. You know, they talk about sacrifices and pledging to this and secret society that. Well, let this guy come out of this unscathed and see what happens to the veracity of all of those types of suspicions. You know, and you know, it's interesting to ponder what the possibility for that could be. But at the end of the day, if he's a creep, he needs to be dealt with just the same way that the rest of these creeps need to get dealt with.
Yep, agreed.
It's just unfortunate because these individuals, these creeps, they amass all this wealth and power and influence, and hardworking, honest people only end up working for these creeps.
Oh, this is the last thing, and that just reminds. This is the last thing I'll say because that's one of my points too. Is that what I realize is from looking at world history or white collar crimes. Do yourselves a favor on YouTube. Go look up white collar crimes. You'll see that a lot of these big baller players, you know, large hedge fund people, they're scammers. Everybody's scamming. Everything's a scam. It's hard. You'll be hard pressed to find people that's on a square handle and square business. And the higher you go up the ladder, sacrifice do have to be made for these people. Now, I'm not talking about, oh yeah, you know, because that loved one stuff, I can't confirm who sacrificed who. But what I do see is because there's bodies on his alleged list. Like he gets people offed. So he can climb. So if there is a thing to that, then that is technically a sacrifice. So if he's got bodies on his resume, or if he's killed anybody for any type of gain in his career, this guy is a sacrificer. So we'll see. That's what I'm saying. For him to be so plugged in and so connected and getting away with it for so long, for him to finally get turned in, that's the part about it that's like, you know, why now? I'm not mad at it, but why now? So that's the part about it that's a little whatever for me. But we'll see how it plays out. You know, I've let things play out before. I got to revisit my theories on Will Smith and that stuff now, because now I got a whole new thing, man. After I seen John Cena up there in the Oscars, you seen that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the Oscars, what they have to do is they have to make them relevant. Let's have John Cena come out here naked. This is part of their bit. And I honestly felt like the Chris Rock, Will Smith thing was a bit. So when you're dealing with these people and the world's a stage, you have to be mindful about how the people may get played. So yeah, my eyes are open. This is act 1 of this show. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. But for right now, I feel like justice is being served, and let's hope it stays that way. Shouts out to the Power Bottom TD Jakes. Shouts out to Power B.
I have no comment on any of that.
Hey man, so it is, but dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay off of the. I don't know. There's an aspect of a lot of that stuff that just makes me uncomfortable. I'm not gonna comment on it because I just like proof and data and whatever. But the overall though, if this stuff is true with him, he needs to be dealt with in the same manner that these other creeps got dealt with. You know, throw Bill Cosby in there too. All of these people, huh? Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Kevin Spacey, all of these creeps. The dude that they sentenced, he went to jail because he was a creep. He used to be on that 70s show, and they found out that he was out there, you know, doing that to women like that, and now he's in prison. All of that. So the same thing needs to happen. Creeps got to go. Creeps just got to go. I don't know the guy's name. It's the white guy who was on one of the white. Well, that was a white show, but one of the guys who was on that 70s show, he ended up being a creep. Found out. So all of these individuals need to go. Point blank. Period.
Yeah.
Bit of a dark way to end tonight's stream, but we'll go ahead and end it that way. Nonetheless, JV wins, Dogon SS. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Conscious Approach, another live stream in the books. Check us out, Instagram, Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. Check me out, Instagram, JV wins, JVWINS. Be on the lookout for Conscious Approach wherever you get your podcasts. As we upload the RSS feed, keep hitting that subscribe button, man. Like the channel. We certainly appreciate it as we move forward towards our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Much love to everybody who's been subscribing to the channel lately. We most certainly appreciate it. And until the next stream, until the next video, keep rocking and rolling. Think for yourself, be a nonconformist, and continue to support this logical content.
Yeah. The name is Dogon SS, not doggone it. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon SS. Also on TikTok at Dogon_SS over there as well. Now, I don't post no videos on TikTok, but my comments, they be going hammer. So make sure you guys follow me over there as well. Now, as I say on every pod, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, everyone, stay safe. And we'll catch y'all on the next one. Skrr.
Yeah. Shouts out to all of the ratchet rappers out there shouts out to all of the teachers out there trying to be ratchet rappers.
Yeah.
Good luck in all your future endeavors.
Yeah, seriously. And the OFers. You know what I'm saying? Well, highlight that. Hey, like and subscribe, man. We out here balling, man. Hey, be part of that grassroots. Be them people that was like, hey, bro, I was out there from the beginning, dog. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so we love y'all, man. We appreciate all the engagements, man. Sincerely, man. So keep it up, man. We'll catch y'all next time, y'all.
Yeah.
Go
out. Peace.
Go Kings.